Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We began today's session with a short Sahanavatu prayer. A few words about this prayer will set the context correct. This prayer is a universal prayer. It doesn't take reference to any particular mood or any particular force or any particular doctrine. It accepts whatever you consider as something supreme, something which is worship worthy. Worship is used in a very specific context because this prayer is uttered by a student to begin when he is beginning his education or beginning his lesson with the master. The very first word Sahana Bhavatu is very interesting, where the disciple, the student, he is using the word Saha, means together. So the learning is something where the teacher and the student makes a journey together. That's something often forgotten. The teacher maybe thinks that, oh, I have already reached and it is my prerogative to be condescending to the student. Condescending, right? Coming to the level of the student and then doing something. Rather, the student now says that's avatu, protect me and my master. So what is the kind of protection? What is the kind of protection that the student is praying for, is seeking for? He prays for the protection. So what is the avatu? Avatu means to protect. So what kind of a protection? See, protection from natural calamities or protection from, usually those were the days when people used to live in forests. So was it protection against attack of animal forces? What kind of a protection? So there the Acharya Shankara comes and gives a very beautiful interpretation. He says the teacher is an erudite scholar, a person with some amount of realization, some amount of quite a bit of knowledge acquisition. Now naturally he will know several things. His ambit of knowledge is beyond the comprehension of the student. So when he begins to tutor the student, he will have to put it in a language which is conducive for the student's learning. The speech and communication should not be as abstract as the knowledge itself. The knowledge may be abstract, but the medium of communication should be concrete, should be simple, should be relatable, should be understandable, so that the student will be able to grasp the knowledge, the concepts. And that is as far as Avatu, protect my teacher. Protect my teacher in the sense, the student is praying, oh Lord, bless the teacher with this ability to relate with me and to communicate with me in the way I can understand. That's the prayer which the student makes on behalf of the teacher. And there is a prayer that he makes on behalf of himself also. Saha means together. So what is the prayer that he wants for himself? He says, whatever teacher has given, whatever you have blessed, oh Lord, whatever you have blessed the teacher, now that blessing is only fruitful as long as I am able to graduate. If I can't graduate from the knowledge that I get from the teacher, then the process of learning and teaching is waste. So he is praying to the Lord for this power of acumen, that may I be blessed with the power to retain the knowledge I get from my master. That knowledge retention is something which is not bestowed for a mere asking. Not bestowed for a mere asking. You take a tub of water, put a stone and a sponge. The stone doesn't absorb, a sponge absorbs. What is so great about these two substances? Of course, you may say that the sponge absorbs but gives up also. But you have certain, retaining fabrics where it retains for longer time. It doesn't give up so fast. For example, limestone. Limestone absorbs slowly and retains for long time and then releases slowly. That's why you will see the old constructions, mechanical engineering, civil, nobody civil, right? Okay, so limestone buildings are meant for keeping the interiors cool for this very reason. That they absorb moisture, they retain the moisture for a long time and keep the environs cool. So the retention is a very, very important aspect of the learning, teaching business. So the very first word, Sahana Vavatu, it has got such a huge impact in preparing the mind with the singular motive of making sense out of this business of learning, teaching. The rest of it is a kind of a thing which we can go on and on. And then we entered into a 2-minute meditation. The 2-minute meditation is to collect your thoughts, to allow the wandering mind to give it a little bit of license and stop the wandering and come to a point of concurrence. And now we are ready with this lecture. The topic of Swami Vivekananda's idea on Shraddha. So I have 1 hour time, right? Okay, so that means I can go on up to 10:45. So Swami Vivekananda's idea on Shraddha. Are there any other ideas? Are there any other ideas? There are. In fact, Shraddha is a very highly researched topic. You know that? It has attracted literators. It has attracted philosophers, not of just Indian origin, even of the Western origin. There are quite a few good amount of works by Europeans on Shraddha. The reason being of its very intriguing character. Shraddha is one particular faculty which is very intriguing. That's why Swami Vivekananda, will come to that later. So to begin, I would like to narrate 3 short stories. Okay, these are cooked up. So I will require your empathetic listening. So if you put your scientific inquiry into it, these stories will break. Okay. So I require your empathetic listening. Please come. Your good name, please. Pranath, please. The front seat is just for you. Thank you. Okay, so the 3 short stories. The first one, you can see this picture where a guy is walking in the rain with an umbrella. So the story goes like this. There was a village which was affected by drought. They didn't have rains for quite some time. Their main business was getting affected. And as a result, they decided that they will resort to some, out of the scientific means, out of their administrative means, out of the corporate means, to appeal to the greater forces and see whether do they have any luck in their favor. So you know what I'm talking, right? So they want to appeal to God. So they checked the almanac, they checked with the Purohit, and then they said, you see, water god, Varuna, if you appease Varuna, then there is all likelihood that we will get rains. Okay, so the big wigs of the village, they came together, they appointed the priests, and the priests were given a good amount of, uh, good amount of gifts. They were at least, not at the beginning, but they were assured of good amount of gifts. And then they said that please arrange one yajna. That yajna, he said that see, this is one yajna which cannot just start in the morning and end by evening. It will go for 1 week. The priests also have a profession behind. So a week-long yajna means that much long of income. But of course, the procedure was that it's called Satra Yajna. Vedas, they talk about Satras. Chatrams you have heard of in the north. Chatrams, when you go, a pilgrim, if he wants to just suddenly put up for one night, you don't have to always require to hunt for a Taj hotel. Okay, it's not necessary. Okay, Oberois and Tajs are not meant for the ordinary guys. So these chatrams are there. They will allow you to take a short break in the afternoon or even the night, and they will even give you food. And most of it is for free. And it's established in the pilgrim center. So anybody can come, stay for a little while and then go. So that is, this word chatram comes from the Vedas. When yajna, Satra yajna will be done where anybody can come, participate and then go. So there is one erudite scholar, he wants to participate for 1 day's yajna. He can come, he can contribute, he can do a volunteer service and then he can leave. So such a Satra yajna was done, and they also invited people from the neighboring villages to participate because it's for a collective good. Okay, so what happened after that? The belief here is that after 1 week they have to do, after 1 week of yajna, finally it will culminate with one particular process called Purnahuti. Purnahuti is finally offering everything. That's the last word of the yajna. So when they do the Purnahuti, the belief is that the sky is supposed to crack down. That's the belief. That's a strong belief. That's what the Shastras say. I mean, something which is very forceful. You're desperate. You want to come out of that drought situation. So what they did is they did the yajna, and then the neighboring village. Some people had assembled in the neighboring village. Some could not. Particularly the young ones could not. But the information reached everywhere. What happened? The Purnahuti was given, and the rain came. But the place where the Purnahuti, where the Homa was done, the rain came in few trickles. It came, but it came in few trickles. There was a neighboring village where there was a torrential downpour, where the yajna was not done. There was a torrential downpour. So then they were worried, a bit intrigued, and then asked, what's the reason? So they made an inquiry and then found there was this chap. He had an outing. They want to go to the bazaar and purchase something. So surprisingly, on a sunny day, he came with an umbrella. Everybody laughed at it. And then at 11 o'clock, the Purnahuti was supposed to happen. So at the 11 o'clock, he opened the umbrella, saying that, no, 11 o'clock, you are supposed to get rain. And none of you are having umbrella. For this one boy's faith, the Varuna got moved and gave them the rain. While those people who actually did the yajna, they did it on a ritualistic basis, but their identification and kind of their identification and their absorption and then their belief were sort of weak than the guy who actually accepted the Vedic dictum of rain after the Homa. That's story number one. The story number 2 goes as this. There is a small temple. There is a small temple, and the temple has a lot of shrines. One of the priests in the shrine, one of the shrines, he wants to go on a vacation, a week, one long vacation. So somebody has to be found in his place. So the head priest came together and then asked, "Acha, who can volunteer for 1 week worship in this shrine?" So there were 3 applications. So of the 3 applications, the head priest checked one after another. They were found okay, sort of, but suddenly, all of a sudden, there was one young lad. He came running and said, "Sir, I would like to volunteer for this. I have observed the priest for long, and I like the way he chants, I like the way he does the worship, I like the way he keeps the whole place clean, I like the way he, conducts himself in this function of a pujari. So I also would like to do this." And then the head priest asked, "Acha, by the way, have you observed any of these rituals in your day-to-day schedule?" The boy said, "No, be playful by nature, I have not done." Okay, so it doesn't matter, but have you at least read the literature? Do you know the history of the temple? Do you know the purpose of worship? Do you know about the installation of the deity? Do you know about the glory of the deity whom you are going to worship? So do you know any of these things? He said, "No, I haven't paid much attention to that." Okay, then the head priest asked the third and final, very damaging question. "Acha, do you at all have the sanction of the pedigree?" You know what I'm talking? What is the sanction of the pedigree? It's quite often observed, right, that you should be born in some caste or creed or some religion to be, getting into these kind of activities. So he was asking for the sanction of his pedigree. And to which, surprisingly, the lad said, "I'm sorry, sir, I don't qualify. I don't qualify." This head priest really got worried. I mean, what is this? Are you taking this for a joke? Huh? This is a temple, a service, an institution which is doing so much of service to the society, and you are taking it for a joke. What is it that you have that you came forward to volunteer for being a worshipper? He says, "Sir, I know this much, that if I offer to God, He will accept it. If I make any offering to the Master, He will accept my offering." And then the head priest fell flat at his feet mentally and said, "For 20 long years I am doing puja only to get this attitude. And you have got it at the very outset. You are not the pujari of the shrine. You should be the head priest of this place." That was the recognition. So that is the second story. We have not come to the conclusion yet. Okay. So now about the third story. There was this guy who was a seaman, and the ship was sailing, having a good sail. In ship they take roll calls 3 times a day, or maybe 6 times a day, either something between 3 and 6. So in one of the roll calls, it was sometime in the late evening, the captain came, called out, and to his shock, he found one man absent. One guy was not there. All are supposed to come on the deck to answer the roll call. So one guy wasn't there. And then the captain tried to think for a little while, what are all the things that happened? What are the instructions he gave? Which is this person? What was his last task? He was given to clean some, the bottom deck, and then subsequent to which he was not to be found. And then immediately everybody saw it was quite dark. Late evening, the sun has already set, there was nothing possibly at sight. So at that time, everybody suggested, "Sir, we are going to risk the entire journey, so it's not worthwhile to go back. Let's move ahead. Let's resolve to the fate, because it's quite long. There's no way he's going to survive. There's no way we are going to locate him. Question of survival is a distant affair. There's no way we're going to locate him. He said, no, let us make one, death try, final try. He reverses the ship, he comes back. After a good amount of search, found this guy floating with holding on to his last breath. He was pulled up the deck, given the CPR and whatever required, and then he came back to life. Then the captain asked him, we missed you, sadly, but this long, how could you maintain yourselves in the cold waters of the sea? And then, mustering all the energy that he could get from within, he said, sir, I knew that my captain will not leave me. That's the third story. So what is the common in all these three stories? Pardon me? Self-belief. Self-belief. Partly true, because the Varuna, the guy who was expecting the rain to come, he believed in the scripture. Rather, he believed in what he heard. The young boy, he believed in what he heard. Second, he believed in what he did. He says, if I offer, God will accept. So he believed in what he did. Because the worship is all about, the doctor comes and prescribes a medicine. You go to a doctor and ask for a medicine. For what? You believe in that action. The doctor gives the medicine. The patient takes the medicine. So when the doctor gives the medicine, he is sure that the patient is going to take it. Does the doctor doubt it? He is not going to doubt that. When he gives a prescription, it's for him. He knows that this guy is going to take it because he needs my prescription. So believing in what one is doing. That was a very, very important component in the second story. What was the third story? The drowning man holding on to that. He says, there was no intellectual disposition. He was not in a time, or he didn't have the luxury to go through a variety of reasoning. There was no encyclopedia that he can quickly leaf through to ask for an answer, or in these days Google. What was that came up on the fore and that saved him, made him hold on to the last breath? I will hold the conclusion for a little while, because this is very important. We will move forward. Shraddha has its origin in Rig Veda. Okay, there is a sukta on Shraddha itself. So let me read that for you with the proper intonation. Shraddhayagnis samidhyate shraddhaya bhuyate gavihi shraddham bhagasya murdhani vachasa vedayamasi priyam shraddhe dadhataha priyam shraddhe nidasataha priyam bhojeshu yajjasvidam mauditam kriti yatha deva asureshu shraddha mugreshu chakrire evam bhojeshu yajjasvasmakamuditam kriti shraddham devaya jamana vayugopa upasate shraddham hridayasya bhutya shraddhaya vindate vasu shraddham bhatat avami shraddham madhyandinam pari shraddham suryasya nimruchi shraddhe shraddhapayeha shraddha devanadivaste shraddha vishwamidam jagat shraddham kamasya mataram avishavadayamasi. The essence of this particular suktam is that Shraddha is one force which is able to actuate every phenomenon. When a force is applied, then what happens? We see the effect. But before the application of force, what are all the processes involved? Shraddha participates in that. Shraddha itself cannot act, but Shraddha puts a man at that edge where he is capable of acting. That is a hidden potent force. So this prayer is to that hidden potent force called Shraddha, that says, in fact, Shraddha itself is personified here. And the entire Vedas is all about personification of the various forces that are contained in this microcosm. The microcosm, which is the human being, and the macrocosm, which is the whole creation. Swami Vivekananda had a very peculiar realization, and he came up with this wonderful discovery that the forces that govern the microcosm, which is the man, and the forces which govern the macrocosm, which is the universe, have got a one-to-one correspondence. So that means any force that is operating within can always be personified for the sake of comprehension, for the sake of communication, for the sake of objectification. If you say you have it within, you are a rich man. You are a rich man if I say, you will ask me, show me your passbook. The passbook just gives a number, 8-digit number, 12-digit number, 15-digit numbers. These days 15-digit numbers are very small. Okay, so that tells you how rich you are. Correct? But actually, do you have it within you somewhere? Show the number, everything is understood, right? So likewise, the potent force within, they all have got a manifestation, and I would like to bring your attention to this one particular mantra, Shraddha Kamasya Mataram. Kama means desire. What does a mother do? Mother fulfills, right? Mother feeds the child. Mother is able to serve the family. Mother is a wonderful contributing force in all departments of human growth and existence. Her role is indispensable. And then Shraddha is given that role. Shraddha is like a mother. Mother for what? Mother for fulfilling all what you want. I used to generally address youngsters with one question to begin with. What is it that you want in your life? The moment you define the want, subsequent to which will come your responsibility, commitment, dedication, everything. How serious you are with your want. The moment you are clear about your want, all the rest of the things can be worked out. But if a man doesn't even know what he wants, then it's very difficult to begin that journey. So he says, the moment you have this want, Shraddha comes into force. Unless you have this desire brought up from within your hidden quarters, you cannot make use of Shraddha. So he says, Mataram, it will be like a mother which fulfills the desire that arises in from the depth of your consciousness. Meaning to say that it will be a supportive force. Can mother actually achieve things for you guys? You are in your own individual footing, correct? Now, in each of your individual footing, what is the role of the mother? This moment, you will not know that. It's not direct. But can you remove that force? It's not possible. So Shraddha actually plays that role. It will not be easy for you to remove that force in all of your undertakings. Now come to the context of Vivekananda. He asks this very pertinent question. What makes the difference between a man and a man? You know, the external differences are very, very compelling. They're very compelling. Somebody is stout, somebody is thin. Somebody is dark, somebody is fair. Krishna, dark, is being loved by everyone. Correct? So, somebody is healthy, somebody is unwell, ill. So, we find a lot of differences which your sense organs bring towards you. Somebody is very prosperous, somebody is poor. But is that all the difference? Is that the difference? Is that the difference or manifestation of a difference? Suppose you have a kirkiri in your throat. You have a kirkiri in your throat, and then the doctor comes and says, I'm talking about 30 years back. He comes and says, my friend, you are suffering from tonsillitis. These days, you don't hear about tonsillitis. Have you heard? But during our days of your, age, tonsillitis was the talk of the day. Every guy had, a kind of a feeling of erudition to say, oh, I am suffering from tonsillitis. Because that's one key word people have learned. And then they flaunt using that word, and they think that the people think of them better by using the word tonsillitis. I am suffering from tonsillitis. I underwent a tonsil operation. He considers himself proud, and as if getting rid of a vestige. I went through appendicitis. But tonsil is a watchguard. Later on, the practitioners of medicine, they found that the tonsil is that particular little tissue which is not supposed to be removed, but should be treated. Because the problem is not there in the tonsil, the problem is in the bacterial infection which is invading into your lungs. And prematurely stopped at the tonsil place, and that particular tonsil is becoming weak. So will you kill the tonsil? Will you cut away and throw away the tonsil? You are supposed to treat that so that in future you again do not get that infection in your lungs. You see how stupid our thinking was in the past. Medicine is an ever-evolving topic. There is no finality in it. It's good. Men never accepted the order of the day, and they kept on improving. So that's one thing about science is it mercilessly investigates its own methods and processes. So thereby, what happened? So to say that I have a tonsil and another man not having a tonsil problem, tonsillitis, is not the difference. The difference is the lungs which are about to be affected. There's one guy whose lung is about to be affected, there's another guy who is free from the infection. And tonsil is only an indicator. So the differences that we actually see, my friends, give one quality 15-second thought. A quality 15-second thought is sufficient. The differences that you see between man is actually in the manifestation. That is not the difference at all. That's not that. It took a long time for me to understand this point. I only wish that I had a similar such Vivekananda study circle during my formative years. It took a long time to even ask this question and look for an answer. But sadly, when I got the answer, only then I understood that such a question exists. So in that sense, I think you guys are very lucky that you, at an early age of your formative years, you got to know that such a question exists and you have an answer. So now, the difference is always seen in the sense of qualitative differences. And Swamiji says, the difference is just in Shraddha. I mean, can you believe this? there is just only singular character quality isolated. You don't have to strive for anything further. See, one done, that done well. You know, there is a proverb in English. Find one done, that done well. So you have too many things, okay? A Sunday, you had too many things. But you said, no, I will go to Vivekananda study circle. Because I will do that well. There may be room cleaning, there may be, laundry that I need to do, there may be some assignments that I need to do. But 1 hour I will give to Swamiji. Swamiji means Swami Vivekananda. Okay. So, and then I will do that well. I will give myself completely. One done, that done well. One by one, you will clear all your milestones. So that way, you find here one particular character quality which you can single out and find that this is the rogue, or rather, this is the blessing by which we can resurrect ourselves under any circumstances. This one potent force, so much so, Rigveda has sung the praise, has given a unique section to sing the praise of Shraddha. This is what I want, and what all of us here want. This faith in ourselves. Incidentally, the faith is used in a very, very secondary sense. And before you is the great task to get that faith. Be strong and have the Shraddha, and everything else is bound to follow. This is Swamiji's words. Everything else is bound to follow. I mean, this man, Vivekananda, was not a man who gives motivational talks, just as the way we are doing. What he does is he touches the soul. All what he said makes direct sense to your well-being, to my well-being. Why should I say you? 3 fingers are pointing to me. It augurs to my well-being. It took much long time for me to realize this point. That everything that he has told makes a lot of sense. And the further delineation of what Shraddha is will make things pretty clear. These are all, looks like a doctrine, right? Looks like a doctrine in the sense that somebody comes up the front in the podium and says, hey, you have to follow this. Why, because it will do good. From out of the blues, you bring one word called Shraddha and say that this thing can achieve everything. I mean, on what basis do I accept it? On what basis do I accept it? Of course, the 3 stories at the beginning are there, but how is it connected with Shraddha? What other qualities that you get from Shraddha? Even though Swami Vivekananda encourages to talk about this Shraddha, possess this force, he gives a kind of an alert. This alert is very necessary to, pay attention. Give up the awful disease that is creeping into our national blood. That idea of ridiculing everything. This is a very, very important point. That laws of seriousness. Give that up. Why I am putting that up front is because, study of a human being as an integral personality has been the only business of philosophy and religion of this nation. Has been a singular business. And these guys have done this business pretty well. Okay, but the language is archaic. A civilization which spans through years to which humanity cannot take a peek. The existing humanity cannot take a peek into. So, what can you talk about the language that evolved from that period? The language will be a bit archaic. But doesn't mean that the message is not relevant. Because it was the same human being then, the problems that we are facing now were the problems then. Only like a rheumatism, it has moved from one part to another part. It has taken change of shape. Earlier muscles were paining, now muscles along with bone are paining. And the pain is shifted to nerves, but the pain is a pain. Okay, so he says, never give up yourself that the urge of knowing things just because the language is archaic. Because that was the days of Bengal. Quite a few Bengalis are here, you will understand. Yes? Yeah. Quite a few Bengalis are here and you will understand that those were the days when anything that is old was denied and anything that was new was appreciated and praised. Brahma Samaj came up. Why? What was the necessity for a Brahma Samaj coming up? Why was the institution had to take up a kind of a Colgate smile and a powdered face to present itself? That was necessary because there is a fundamental hunger in the human being called novelty mongering. Anything that is new, we just run behind. But how long can these novel ideas and novel things can hold our aspirations? Can it feed the aspirations for long? It cannot. But those things which have survived the test of time, they can. But there is a huge difficulty. There is a bracket. There is a bridge that needs to be gapped. The bridge is basically the language. Because the format is a bit archaic in nature, people what they do is they look down upon, they deny. And there is another problem. The translators also are to be questioned. The guy like me who's sitting in front always keep mumbling Sanskrit words, which doesn't get into the ears of the listeners. Naturally, it's not a welcome situation. They need a contemporary presentation of the ideas of the yore. Correct? That's what Swami Vivekananda came for. He was able to project the ideas which were locked up in the repository, so-called the ancient scriptures that we have. And he was able to cast it into the broad daylight in a language and with the temper of the human modern aspirations. And he comes and says, the idea of relooking everything, that laws of seriousness, give that up. Because this is the first thing which works as a, like putting the eyes on the fire, they say. This puts the eyes on the fire called Shraddha. If you are really interested in growing in Shraddha, you should take this red alert pretty seriously. Swami Vivekananda takes reference to Nachiketa. And there is an interesting phenomenon being described. Shraddha Avivesha. His father, Nachiketa's father, was performing one yajna. Okay. In that yajna, he is supposed to gift away everything. And in return of which he is going to expect something, heavenly. That's the belief. Nachiketa, who was a 8-year-old boy, is keenly observing all the acts which the father is doing. And during the time of gifting, the father calculatedly started gifting away all the worthless things and keeping to himself those objects of adoration. And he was gifting away which are unwanted. Torn clothes, rotten food, and then the cows which are neither it can procreate and nor can it milk. Okay, it's going to be a debt. So such things he started gifting away. And then Nachiketa observes this, and then suddenly this word is used. Shraddha Avivesha. Shraddha invaded. Literally, it's an invasion. Akraman. I don't know whether you are familiar with this terminology, Avesham. In those who have Sanskritized their, spoken skills, they will tell anybody who is talking very excited, he spoke with Avesha, meaning to say he spoke as if possessed. Correct? So he was an embodiment of what is called as Shraddha at that point in time. And the language that is used is Avivesha. So Shraddha is a force, friend, From this particular usage of Shraddha, we can understand the psychology. Shraddha is that force which can be brought to the fore, made dormant, again brought to the fore. So it can be something which you can play with it. Till then he was only observing. When the father made a mistake, a grave error, he suddenly woke up with responsibility and started questioning the propriety of the father's action. What made him question the father's propriety of action? What made him? Suddenly, all of a sudden, it wakes up in him. That means all along what was he doing? And suddenly how did his mind change? Can you feel the pulse of this boy? He is revolting against his own father. He says, Father, this is not the way to do. He comes and attacks once. He says, hey, go play. He comes and asks for the second time. He says, hey, don't disturb me. He comes and asks for the third time. And he says, if you keep doing this, I will gift you to the hell. Gift you to the death, God of death. And then he says, now that you have pronounced this, be it a blessing or a curse, let that be upon me. And he self-gifted to the God of death. This story is a very beautiful story, Kathopanishad. The first few passages itself, the whole thing is covered. Okay? So now, Shraddha Avivesha. That's the reason why, see, it's not the question of confidence. It's not the question of a mere belief. It's not even mere faith. The three stories which I told at the beginning, you can clearly see the extent of manifestation was different in all the three. But they were fruitful in bringing out the desired, result. They were fruitful, but you can appreciate the intensity with which things expressed. Correct? So, the amount that you can actually quell from within, you can fetch from within, depends on the extent to which you have it. A slight deviation. The word is also used in Chandogya Upanishad. Shraddhatsva. Somya. Saya esho anima etad atmibidam sarvam. Tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi shetakite. Tattvamasi is that it's a famous Mahavakya. 4 Mahavakyas, which says, you and your indwelling consciousness are one and the same. You are not different from the indwelling consciousness. The word that. It's a one-letter couplet, compound, one-worded compound. But there he says, Shraddhatsva, take faith in what I am saying. Father is telling the child. Somya. Somya is an affectionate way of addressing your own son. So that means he is not an old man. He is still a young kid. You see, all these references, these verses, they take references to kids, young lads. Why is it so? Because their mind is not polluted. It's not variegated. They are still yet to form opinions. And more importantly, their ego is very much under check. So much so that it has not even surfaced. They will not ask this question, who are you to say this? Acha, I have a beard. Hey, come clean shaven. Na? Who are you to say this? To have my beard is my right. A boy will not ask this. Correct? So that's the reason why the scriptures have taken these boy representatives to communicate an idea that let us first listen to it and absorb the idea and see how this idea, after it gets in, takes different forms. And Shraddha is one such idea. Shraddhatsva, have faith, O Somya, that Anima, this is subtlest of the subtle. Anima like Garima. Anuvat is Anima. And then Etad Atmavidam Sarvam. Everything is there, pervaded by self. Have faith in this. So the banished Nachiketa, when he was said that gifted to the god of death, you know what he said? He rose up to his full form, physically small, but in dignity very tall. He was very tall in dignity. He said, I am superior to many. but I am inferior to few. It's not that I am superior at all, but I too am inferior, middling. I am a middling case to a few. But nowhere I am the last. So I can also do something. Even in the case where I am subjected to the inevitable, I am subjected to the inevitable state of being consumed by the god of death, the drowning man. Can you see this now? Can you see something getting related here? The drowning man is knocking the doors of death. Not to get in, but to be permitted back into this earth. And permitting back into this earth is Shraddha. It is able to salvage him even from the doors of death. And that's what Nachiketa did. So now you find the connection? The dying guy. So the word Shraddha literally, now let us look at the etymology of this term Shraddha. Okay, it has got, that it has Shraddha and Dha. Correct? It has got two words, Shraddha and Dha. Now the Shraddha actually is a word that comes from a root word, Ritam. You have heard about the word Ritam? In fact, several Bengalis have this name, Ritam. Ritam actually means truthfulness. Okay. Satyam is the truth which is manifested, either through speech or through products. This is also Satyam. Speech is Satyam. There is Satyam in that. Okay, so that is a manifested truth. There is a concept of truth, conceptualization of truth, that is called as righteousness, truthfulness. They are the abstract noun of the term truth and reality. So this abstraction, where does it reside? Can you show something, say, this is truthfulness, can you say? This is truth. Because it is manifested. It has taken a form. But then where is this truthfulness? The moment you go to ness, the whole thing becomes a mess. Because then you will say, oh, all that mumbo jumbo abstract. Lack of seriousness. So don't lack seriousness just because a thing is abstract. Because you got everything concrete from that. A variety of concrete things comes from its abstract forms. So abstraction is something which is very, very essential in our teaching learning process. Science guys knows, right? If you want to prove a theorem, you cannot show an example. Correct? Are you aware of this fact? If you want to prove a theorem, it has to be proved under all circumstances, provided, of course, take all those assumptions. Under the body of assumptions, your statement should hold good, not for specific instances only. But if you want to find a contradiction, if you want to disprove, just find one contradiction. You are done. That theory will not hold water. The soundness of the theory is disproved by one counterexample. So, Shraddha, that truthfulness is there in your intellect. It is there in the concept. In the conceptualization of the manifestation is the abstraction. All of us are going through that abstraction day in and day out. Only that we are not aware. So, this Shraddha, what happens is that righteousness which is Ritam, that is there in the intellect. It is not in the physical world. It is there in the intellectual world. And intellect also goes with the name heart. Buddhi and Hridayam. These two words are interchangeable when you read our Indian scriptures. Buddhi and Hridayam. Okay? Keep it in your heart. If somebody says, that means keep in mind. Keep it in your intellect. And then say that if you have to think carefully, it includes keeping in your heart. So they both are used interchangeably. So Shraddha, it says, truly placing his Shraddha, truly in the heart is Shraddha and Dha is placing. So you take an idea, so what a wonderful construction. I really, thanks to this VSC guys, really I'm telling you, I got this truth while preparing for this talk. I could solve the jigsaw puzzle. I knew each of these parts well, but I couldn't put them together. This one actually solves the puzzle. It says, put it in your heart and put it truly. Put it truly. That truly is the one which is done by Shraddha. Suppose you listen to a wayside person. Achha, where is it that I have to come to this ESP 312? So that fellow will tell, hey, go straight and go left. And then he looks at somewhere else. He doesn't even give a second look at me. I'm not talking about Athanu. Athanu led me. When such a person is there, he said, see the two differences. I asked the security is busy with this, 100 loads of things. So he cannot see to it that I reach the place. To go straight and take left. All right. So there are several rights, and then which is the right, I don't know. Okay. So now the difficulty is that how much should I place it in the heart? How much of his statement will I place it in my heart? On the other hand, Athanu comes and says, I got the guy and I don't need to worry. Then what happens? Shraddha comes in. Shraddha avivesha. The entire force from within me that I can be well led to the destiny has come from within the fold. You see, the truly placing in the heart and the fleeting words of direction, they are two different things. The earlier one, you believe. The second one, you have Shraddha. Can you find the difference now? Excellent. So placing it truly in the heart is what Swami Vivekananda wanted. That's why he says, the lack of seriousness, because it is not a mere intellectual cogitation. You have to take something and color your being with that. Therefore, of course, you cannot take Tom ideas which are very ordinary and then try to materialize it. That's of course certainly not a welcome situation. So be thoughtful, be careful. It's after all your life. You know what to do best under your own living circumstances. You want a PhD? No, PhD, go get it in a hot line. I mean, it should be a highway approach, not a bickering and begging approach. Want to aim for excellence and then do it. Give yourself wholeheartedly. I mean, day in and day out, don't count hours, don't count effort, don't count your scholarship, whether it came or not, don't count for your guide's time. Guide is not giving me time at all. He is not going through my thesis first chapter. He is not giving me any advice. They are all reality. You have to tackle it. There's no other way you can do it. No other way. Interestingly, when I got admitted in the PhD program in the Statistical Institute, there was one Nandini madam in computer science. So I went there and then I told her, Madam, this group where I have come, they are all geometers. They are all working in geometry. But I'm sick of geometry. I want to do in graph theory. So graphs are something which are, there is an innate appeal for it. But I don't know where to start, how to start. It's a long journey. I don't even know which book to open first. I am coming back to academics after 2 long decades. After becoming sannyasa only, I was put through this rut, I should say, of doing this PhD. Then, so I said, I don't know where to start from. I'm really confused. Can you give me a word of counsel? What she said? I lived with that statement for the next 6.5 years. She said, if you love it, you will get it. She didn't say, if you work hard. She put that working aspect, that working hard is taken for granted. Friends, working hard is not an incentive. Really very hard, What else you are for here? What other business do I have in this sacred portals of learning than to work hard towards the acquisition of academic excellence. That's my single prerogative. And to say that you are doing it is not a matter of pride. But it is certainly a matter of pride if you say, I love what I'm doing. So this is something which he reminded me. If you love what you do, you will be able to cross over. Then I said, man, this is interesting. Because love, what happens, is one heartbeat force which keeps ticking even if you meet the dead end. The love doesn't stop. It is one, and that love actually comes from this. If Shraddha is not there, love cannot come. It is such an underlying principle in defining your personality. You talk about terrorists. You know what the terrorists have undergone? They have undergone what you call as misorientation of Shraddha. They are using Shraddha, incidentally. People say brainwash, right? These terrorists and extremists are brainwashed. What is a brainwash? They are trying to feed the Shraddha into that. Huh? Yeah, in a different way. In a way which is not conducive for the public reckoning. Which is very, very detrimental to the society. It's a perversion, but that also uses Shraddha is an unqualified force. It's a force within. Force has absolutely no quality. Trivida bhavati Shraddha dehinam sa swabhavata satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi chetitam shrumo. In the 17th chapter, Sri Krishna begins his narration on this topic of Shraddha. He says there are three types of Shraddha. One is the Satvika nature, which is elevating. There is one Rajasika nature, which is binding. It causes a bit of pain and struggles. There is a Tamasika nature, which destroys. For all these three, you have Shraddha as the singular force. You see? Shraddha is the singular force. The way, see, the clay is in the potter's hand, what form it's supposed to take. You cannot blame the clay for that. So likewise, he says, therefore it is truly placed in the heart for a purpose which will serve the cause of the truth. That is another sense of the term truly. And each of us have got this infinite mine of Shraddha. How much ever you want, it can take. A drowning man, a man who is knocking at the doors of death, how much of Shraddha is required to come back alive? He has to pawn his entire self to bring back his own self. That much Shraddha repository all of us have. That's what this whole thing is about. So when Nachiketa reasserted himself by looking at the past, by friends, by the way, you guys are all great, I say. Each one of you are so superb. It's not a mere sense of motivation I'm trying to give you. It's not easy to get into this Indian Institute of Science, Technology. It's not easy. Not at all easy. You know how difficult it is for people who are going through various circumstances. Somebody doesn't even know that such an institution exists. Somebody, even after knowing, doesn't have the adequate academic, investment to come to it. Even though he may have an adequate academic fervor, he doesn't have the leisure. Maybe he has to earn very early in his age. So, how gifted you guys are that at the prime time of your youth, you are able to give your entire personality to garner excellence, to grow in excellence. This is a very, very rare opportunity you guys have got. Not only you, I too have got. In 3 different stints of my life, 4 different stints of my life, I got the wonderful opportunities and I made use of it. I was a monk in the last effort, but prior to that, I was a big seeker in the world. What a man would like to achieve in the world, I was running behind that and could achieve it with sufficient amount of Shraddha. And I, not knowing that actually that was the force in play. If only I had known it, I would have got much more out of it. There were several occasions when I was coming down. But that's when you have to see that I am not inferior to few. Sorry, I am superior to many. That kind of resurrecting oneself based on the successes that you have come in the past should come as your strength. That's not something that you can laugh away or gift away or shy away from or take it for granted. You guys are really gifted. Really gifted. You can be really proud of it. So when you face a difficulty, you need to collect the threads of strength. Because if you are weak, certainly you are not going to grow. So where are you going to collect your strengths from? If somebody is going to tell, hey, you are good, really good, really good, that you get from outside is only momentary. That you actually able to unearth from within is going to stay with you for long, under any circumstances. You become truly an autonomous being. Correct? And such is the potential Shraddha has got. If you truly place it in the heart. It's one force which can redeem you from any stalemate situation. Because it is actually a doorway into the infinite mine of strength that you have. This boldness increased. See, not less than Swami Vivekananda says this. It has got much more material than what actually it says. The boy wanted to solve the problem, which was foremost in his mind, which was the problem of death. We are almost through. And he thought that going to the death is the only way he can solve this problem. He waited at the doors of death for 3 days and he got all the answers from the death, and then he came back to the earth to join his father again. That's a brief story about it. So Swami Vivekananda, in fact, actually, he says that this is my mission, to preach the doctrine of Shraddha or the genuine faith in the mission of my life. Let me repeat to you that this faith is one of the potent factors of the humanity and all of religions. First, have faith in yourself. And there's another life-giving advice. Know that though one may be a little bubble and another may be a mountain-high wave, yet behind both the bubble and the wave, there is the infinite ocean. I would like to conclude this particular talk with one very important idea which will answer the drowning man's question and Nachiketa going to the doors of death. Where is that quality which distinguishes the third from the first two? We are familiar with two processes, addition and integration. The information added to self. Self means your own self. I don't mean the Atman. To yourself. From outside, now this information will be like an appendage. Correct? How many medals did USA win in the Olympics? Tell me. Okay, so yeah, if that's not that's a difficult question. Who won the bronze medal in hockey? Great. Now this information, can you live without this? So anything that you can live without is an appendage. Anything that you can actually live without is an appendage. So if you add information to your system, mere addition means subtraction also permitted. And it's not really going to change yourself too much. I mean, you can feel proud using the word tonsillitis. Nobody stops you from that. But that cannot sustain you for long. So an added vocabulary is not going to sustain you for long. What is it that's going to sustain you for long? If you take 1 cup of badam milk, okay, every day morning you take 1 cup of badam milk, will you be strong? Well, too much of philosophy should not rob away the common sense. Okay? The common sense says that you are going to get strong. You are going to get strong. Why? Can you just remove this badam milk from your constitution? Or if you remove it, are you going to be the same? Because the badam milk has been organically integrated into your being. It has become a part of your being. It has produced so many cells, so much of health, so much of your being has been converted. The physical being has been converted. So you have become stronger. So that's because the substance which is added into your system has got organically integrated with you. So that has actually contributed to your definition. You are not the same as before, because you can now say that you are stronger. You are no more malnourished, you are well nourished. You can think better. You are less disease prone. Not knowing about the medal tally is not going to bring you even iota of change. Or knowing it, not for the better. So you can understand between appendage, addition and organic integration. Now Shraddha is an organic integration. Shraddha is not something that I listen from outside and have my adrenaline pepped up and then do some activity out of that so-called excitation and then stoop to a level which is worse than before. All adrenaline pepped situations end up in actually demotivating the guys. If I have to give you one advice, never go through motivation sessions. Never. If somebody says there is going to be motivational talk, safely avoid it. You will rather be better if you sleep through that time. Because motivational are actually adding to the self. They are not giving the real substance or the facts or the formula that actually works for you. That's the reason why this is a study circle and not a motivational class. If you think that Swamiji is here to motivate us, sorry, I would rather discontinue my profession. So that organic whole, this is what in Gita Sri Krishna says, with which we will conclude. Trivida bhavati shraddha dehinam sa svabhavaja satviki rajasi chaiva tamasi chetitam shrunu. Next verse says, Sattvanurupa sarvasya shraddha bhavati bharata shraddha mayoyam purushaha yoyat shraddha sa eva saha. So it says the last two words are very important. Shraddha mayaha ayam purusha. Purusha, the man, he is verily the embodiment of Shraddha. He is an embodiment of Shraddha. That means, see, knowledge about hockey is not your embodiments. It has nothing to do about embodiment. You are not even carrying it. There is no substantiality in it even. What to talk about embodiments? Correct? So he says, Shraddha mayoya. A man is what his Shraddha is. And the second phrase re-emphasizes this fact and says, Yoyat Shraddha sa eva saha. When I look at so many faces, do you know what I am seeing? I am actually looking into your brain. Gita says, I am actually looking into your being and I am looking at your Shraddha. That's what Gita says. It's up to us to take it or not. But Gita is something which cannot be, taken light of. When I am looking at a bespectacled Vikas, na? Akash. Anyway, Ka was there. Ka means sky. So when sky comes, everything is absorbed into it. So when I look at Akash, Akash is also sky. Huh? Wow. So when I look at Akash, I'm actually looking at his Shraddha. That's what the scripture is saying. I mean, it is so fundamental to your constitution that you go out and keep advertising to the people around that this is my Shraddha, this is my Shraddha, this is my Shraddha. I mean, you keep on doling out your own piece of Shraddha into others. What in the modern language is called personality. Personality is a very, very understatement of this term Shraddha. It's a yet another convoluted translation of Shraddha. So you, all of us, every human being is actually going out and speaking out his Shraddha by his very demeanor, by his very behavior, by his very mental disposition and physical occupation, including physical occupation. Because that's the final stage of manifestation. The moment it becomes physical, subsequent to which there is no change. The word uttered is uttered once and for all. A mobile broken is broken once and for all. The time spent is spent once and for all. So the manifestation is the last stage of the journey of a force. The earlier journey, the earlier stages of the journey where it is Shraddha, then it shows up. You go in a class and ask, a classroom filled with this many people or much more, you go and ask, Acha, how many of you wanted to come to Vivekananda study circle, please? Monisha is so keen in trying to, they said that Maharaj, today not many people will come. So please excuse us, there will be only 3-4. It's quite a big turnover, I should say. So she might have worked hard in trying to disseminate the information and then say how many of you, many people would have been checking the mobile. So you know, what he or she is demonstrating, you know, that he or she is demonstrating his Shraddha on that particular concept, idea, proposal. We are actually bringing out the Shraddha in every action, in the winking of an eye also. That's the reason why Gita says, Shraddha mayo ayam purusha. Swarnamayam means what? Made out of gold. Mrinmayam, Mrinmay. Mrinmay is a famous name in Bengal. Mrinmayam means what? Made out of clay. Shraddhamayam means what? Made out of Shraddha. Every pore of your being, every cell of your being is announcing itself what the Shraddha of the individual is. You see what an underlying force this Shraddha is. And that's the reason why it occupies a very, very peculiar position within your personality, that it is able to salvage you from the doors of death. See, death is a place where you are denied existence. And Swamiji says that can restore. I mean, there may be some kind of an excitation or an amplification of the basic truth, but guys have done it in the past. It's up to the individual to take it or not. Guys have demonstrated some amount of Shraddha in the past. Swamiji says that if you are bitten by a snake, however venomous it may be, if you tell yourself that you are not going to succumb, you will not succumb. I mean, I cannot simply distrust Vivekananda. I am not saying that I will invite all the serpents to come and bite me. I am not saying that. But the place where the doors are closed, don't think that it's done yet. All the doors may be closed, but this door is open. The Shraddha door is open. And that can resurrect you from whichever disposition you are. Man, this is one message which is resounding within, the being. It can make people reach far-reaching frontiers. All the people who have attained excellence in their life have demonstrated this. That's the reason difference between a man and a man, says Vivekananda. Question answer sessions. Yeah, please. Louder, please.
I am superior to many and category to ego.
See, if you are superior to many, you cannot deny that fact, right? See, if you score first, gold medal, you are certainly above others. I mean, there's nothing wrong in priding yourself that yeah, you did well. Why do you have to be harsh with yourself? It is something which the world is reckoning and you will not reckon. Now, how is that possible? An elaborate event is conducted, the person's name is called out in front of the luminary dignitaries, and you walk there like a coward. You want to shy away from that. What it simply says is, don't take that situation into your head and allow that to run riot. Don't displace this position everywhere. Don't go to while walking in the road, security stops you. Hey, why are you stopping me? No, I want to ID card. Don't you know me? I am the topper in this college. What has your moving and being security checked got to do with being a topper in the college? This is the problem. The superiority complex. Complex is something which is convoluted. Many things come together. And the particular force is applied in places where it doesn't belong to. You may be great within the classroom, but when you go to the road, you have to obey all the discipline there. Many of the places, so-called, the people in repute, they exercise a far-reaching dominance over others just because they are good in one particular field. How is it that the security in the road insulting him is justified? It's not justified, right? So that kind of superiority is a complex which should be carefully avoided. They often tell about the cricketers. There was one cricketer who was interviewed. At the same time, an actor was interviewed, the Jugalbandi types. So they asked, so sir, how do you, films are casted on the silver screen and even the matches. So how are these two different? Then, the cricketer it was maybe Jadeja, he said, sir, if you get your shooting wrong, you can do a redo. But if I get my stroke wrong, I cannot redo. It's obvious. It's a very obvious thing. But she put it so nicely. And it added fact to fun. Rather, fun to fact. Whichever way you want to look at it. So, we should not misplace things. So, the cricketer has to be, solid-headed. He should not allow himself to be carried away by praises. How many lives of the illuminaries have got damaged, spoiled, because of misplacing the superiority. I am good in my field, you are good in your field. I should respect for your goodness. The guy who is there doing a security job, he deserves the praise for doing it so meticulously, right? We are here doing peaceful academics because they are toiling under the sun. They are doing their job impeccably. Shraddha to object.
So in that scenario, then what is the ideal object to pursue the Shraddha so that we'll get all our knowledge?
See, Shraddha, as I said, it is unqualified. It's a force. Shraddha kamasya mataram. Okay? Write down that word. In whichever language you have, you please write it down. In your own language, you write it down. Shraddha kamasya mataram. Whatever desire you have, like a mother, it will support. If you want to become a sportsman, mother is there who feeds and if you want to become a sportsman, will she stop you from? So you want to be a sportsman, I'll help you being a sportsman. Or you are already into sports and then you want to wake up early do exercise, have good food. She will help you in that. Correct? That Shraddha is that helping force. So you tell me, what is it that your heart feels the throb for? What is it the throbbing for? That it will attain. Shraddha will make sure that you attain it. Provided you have that, you are able to attach that Shraddha to that. You have to truly place in the heart that object of adoration. Whichever object of adoration you are able to truly place in your heart, you will attain the success in it. Because, sir, there are various external circumstances which is not under your control. So you need an unsurmountable amount of, you need a inexhaustible amount of energy to overcome the unsurmountable external obstacles. Why do I say inexhaustible? In the sense that if I issue a 5,000 rupee check, the bank should be able to honor it. Suppose if 5,000 becomes 50,000, it should be able to honor it. Suppose it becomes 5 lakhs, then also bank should be able to honor it. That is what is called as inexhaustible. That force is there within us. What is that force? Shraddha is the force. So if you really want to manifest Shraddha, you cannot manifest Shraddha. You need an object. So now you have to be wise enough. There the wisdom is necessary. Since you guys are all in academics, I don't want to bring in the notion of spirituality here. But there is only one thing spiritual, Everything else is material. Your Atma, the spirit within you, the self, the all-pervasive self, the omnipotent self, the all-knowing self, that is the only spirit. If you are pursuing that, that alone is spirituality. Everything else is materiality. Full stop. But, so that you're pursuing PhD and your BTech degrees and MTech degree, all forms materiality. Nothing wrong about it. But do it rightly. You are the maker of your own destiny. In what sense? That you have to be responsible for what you desire. Don't tell me that no, the society made me do this. Society might have created the ambience, but you took the decision. We take the decisions. So we take the decisions, we stand behind the decisions. How do you stand behind the decision? Shraddha. If you invest your Shraddha, that means you are becoming responsible. You are becoming accountable. And you are becoming competent. Responsibility, accountability and competence comes from Shraddha. Because if you don't have Shraddha, you will have one of these three weak. And that will pose a kind of a inhibition. Does it make sense? So Shraddha needs to be identified in that context. Still, have I explained Shraddha? It's very difficult because it's abstract. It has to be indicated. It cannot be pointed. It can be only indicated. There are certain indicators. Just as the way that me and my being cannot be different. And my being is defined by Shraddha. So now if you dig further into your own constitution, mental, psychological constitution, you will find out various forces are playing. You will be able to sift it. What is qualified and what is unqualified. Suddenly somebody says a word, you become angry. You become angry, right? So what is the transformation? I hear something, it goes within my constitution, it triggers, it makes a damage, it hurts there somewhere. There you will find your Shraddha is playing a role. Your misplaced Shraddha is playing a role. So you can identify this particular Shraddha force in the way you actually deal with the world. Not by shying away from it. And the more you are able to manifest the positivity of the Shraddha. So what does it? Bahuna memi pratamaha. I am superior to many. It's a positive thought. Correct? It's a positive thought. So if you take that, I am weaker than the weakest. Suppose you take. Now Shraddha will become weaker. It will prove to you that you are the weakest. Shraddha will see to it that you don't rise. Because you are just your being. You are just what your Shraddha is. That is the beauty of this particular force that is operating from within. That's why very, very carefully Vivekananda brought out he singled out this particular idea. loosely translated as belief, convictions, faith. These are all loose translations. Some people call it genuine faith. I mean, see, I am speaking really true. I am speaking truth. Why should truth be prefixed with really? I mean, what is it there to doubt in the truth that really comes and adds value to truth? If faith is able to explain Shraddha, then why genuineness is required? It's just that more of adjectives is trying to tell you that there is something more to this word called faith. So the drowning man, I know I got introduced to this story when I was doing my PG, post-graduation. It came in the mail. That was the time when we had the character interface mails. GUI wasn't there. You have to download from the server. It will come first to the server. From there you have to download. I mean, a lot of process was there. And then this story suddenly ended up in my screen. And when I read that, I said, man, this is simply super. What is it that makes his life kicking, the heart beating, that he will come, he will come, he will come, he will come, the captain will come. On what basis? It's not mere belief. I mean, his entire being is so much colored with that genuine faith, so to say, that he cannot but think of anything other than that. See, there is no thought contrary to that. That is Shraddha. There is no thought contrary to that. So, it's a very powerful force. So, any other questions, friends? No more, huh? See, surrender